The real deals are on the air now. And now, live from the Swords of St. Michael Studios, it's The Real Deals. Kenneth and Farah Deal.
Tonight with us, Father Bob Bailey, which we'll introduce in just a moment. Tonight we're going to talk about movies in the way they had profoundly introduced some concepts that were more like the true life paranormal or preternatural, or whatever you may call it, and how they may have profoundly affected the work that we do from the time back into the 60s and so forth. Because I'm sure that Creature from the Black Lagoon had no help whatsoever.
Are you sure about that?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so Father
Since we
Bailey,
have a priest, why don't we have him pray us in?
That's exactly right. Father Bailey, welcome to the show.
You out there?
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be there.
Welcome, Father. We're so glad you could join us because we love your vim, your vigor, and your wit. And your food pictures.
Yeah, you guys and your recipes. We'll have to get the Father Bob recipe book.
Exactly.
We'll have to get yours.
Exactly. Can you help us pray us in with our St. Michael prayer, or whichever prayer you'd like to use, Father?
Sure. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke whom we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Okay.
Hey! Everybody's in the house. Oh my gosh, we got a full house tonight. Denise is out there. I hope she's feeling good. Denise, I hope you finally got rid of that headache. Leon stopped by. Steve, Athena, Doris, Cecilia. Oh my gosh. Everybody loves to hear from Father Bob. I mean, seriously.
Father Bob, in a little background.
So bummed.
He was featured on The Haunted. The Animal Planet had a TV series one time where it was mainly because the Animal Planet, they always had to have a dog or a gerbil or whatever. and so in the story,
don't be making fun of gerbils.
weave into there. We'll be weaving into there how the animals, how animals are affected in the oppressive household or the nature of demons. They just don't like that negative stuff.
No.
Good angels, bad angels.
Speaking of which, Father, since we're going to be talking about these wonderful effects that movies have had on us over the decades and our lives, et cetera, we have a question direct, and I really, if you don't mind, would like to start off with it asking you, because I think it's pretty important that people understand that when somebody needs supernatural, spiritual warfare help, if we are available, if we're there, Father, we all need to be there for each other, no matter what their background, what their history. If they're asking for help, we need to be there. So our question for you tonight, and I'm hoping this person is listening because she's a real sweetheart, but we're not giving out names, just a random question from one of these fabulous people out here. The question is this: I'm kind of embarrassed, and I don't really like asking this, but I'm kind of curious what I can do. I'm a baptized, born-again Christian. And a while ago, I was a practicing Wiccan for over 10 years. What can I do to make sure that I'm going to be okay with God? What should I do? Yes.
In the born-again tradition, there's repentance. So as long as you've repented of that and and confessed your belief in Jesus Christ, accepted Him as your Lord and Savior, and pleaded the blood of Jesus over you, then you're all set. And you just go forward from there. You reject your past. You embrace your future and go forward with Jesus.
Thank you, Father. She really needed to hear that, because sometimes I think that a lot of people think that our past is a consistent reminder of how awful we are, how sinful we are, how terrible we are. And I think it's important that we remind people, especially today, that God reminds us of our future. Satan reminds us of our past.
Yeah. And, if I could draw from our Catholic tradition, maybe it would help her, too, in a sense, just about the Lord's repentance and His mercy.
Yes.
We have a devotion called the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and that's one of the most popular devotions in the Catholic Church, the Sacred Heart, the loving heart of Jesus. Well, that was a revelation given to a nun named St. Margaret Mary, Sister Margaret Mary.
Oh, Margaret Mary, yes. Yes.
Yeah. And her priest one day tried and questioned the Lord to see, to test the spirit. Say, okay, I want you to ask Jesus what I did on such and such a date. So the next time you speak to our Lord. And so, okay, the next month or whenever, when she came back, said, did you ask our Lord? And she said, yes, I did. And the priest said, what was his answer? And he said, I don't remember. The reason being was that he repented, went to the sacrament of confession for what he did. And the Lord said, I don't remember, because we're not held, through His blood for forgiveness. We're not, He doesn't remember our sins anymore.
Such a blessing.
And that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and that's true for people who do some other things like abortion. That no matter how dark your past, as the Divine Mercy revelation had, you have no reason not to trust in Jesus and just move forward. Don't vote for candidates who might cause someone else to be able to make such a mistake and so forth too. That's called complicity.
And what I like to tell people too, especially the professionals, especially people who struggle, is the Lord doesn't look at how many times you fall, but how many times you pick yourself up and go forward. Yeah. Because He wants us saved. He doesn't. He's not there waiting for us to trip up so that He can say, aha. He wants
gotcha again.
He wants us to be saved. More than we do.
I agree, Father. I agree. I got to give a shout out there, Father Jamie Dennis. This is his night off. I got to say hi to Father out there too. Thanks for joining us, Father.
Father Jamie.
Good to see ya. Yes.
Hello.
Yes. All right. Which movies are we going to start with, boys?
Well, we got it right here on the monitor and on
I know
the
there's
screen.
like too many. It's like, shall we just like spin the wheel?
Oh, that's kind of what it is. That's why I have it up too for on your monitor.
Oh,
there.
goodness.
Yeah.
Boy, you and Father, you got a nice list there. Oh my.
Yes, Father. So I have the a list, and we're going to share a lot of these in common, of course. One of the ones that stood out for me is I can't even remember it. Maybe you remember, Farah, called "In the Grip of Evil." Is it a documentary?
Yes, it was a documentary. It was on either like the Learning Channel, one of those cable channels, and I saw it, and it ended up being so good of a documentary. It is the actual case to the Exorcist. Now, I mean, obviously, in the movie it was a girl rigging and all that, but in real life it was a young boy, a Lutheran boy, from, I guess, was he from St. Louis? Or, no, I guess.
I think he was from Maryland.
Maryland, that's right, Maryland. And actually it was more frightening than the movie because it was real life. It was the real story.
Yes.
And it was really
very
well done.
Scary stuff.
Obviously, it chronicalized the events of the exorcism and the possession. So, you can get it probably on Amazon or eBay or somewhere. I'm sure you can get it. But
I wonder if it might be on YouTube.
I don't know.
That's probably may not be all that.
Because sometimes these independent movies, you can find some really good stuff on YouTube. Amazing, amazingly.
I've never tried, but in the grip of evil. It's really, if you're interested in demonic possession and, facts from fiction and, and the real stuff, that's one of the best.
All right. So that's in line too with, of course, the movie The Exorcist.
Yes, it gives, like Father Bob said, it gives people a better glimpse. And Father, if you don't mind, can we talk about that movie for a minute? Because a lot of times we look back at some of these movies and a lot of them glamorize, they sensationalize, and I think that's the number one problem most of them have, is it makes it look so exciting and so amazing. Wow, to be possessed or to be bothered by demons. Wow, they're after me. I'm so special. No, you're not. Everybody else on the block has their own to deal with too. And I think that the difference with this movie, especially this documentary you just talked about, and the movie we're going to talk about next, The Exorcist, this was actually a glimpse into real life struggles. Very rare, but real life struggles. And I think it brought it to a different level, Father. Wouldn't you agree? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. Now, I was young, when the movie came out. The book came out first, and I remember I really didn't know anything about it. I was in, what year did it come out?
Gosh, 73? Yeah, I think it was 73.
73. I was in junior high school, or just getting on elementary school. And I remember my sister had the book in her room, and I said, "Oh, what's that?" Said, "Oh, it's about
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
What that is." I said,
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So she said it's about taking the devil out. So, I was in junior high school. And my family went to go see it, but I wasn't allowed to because my mother's cousin, who was a priest, said that Bobby, rightfully wisdom, that I shouldn't be exposed to that kind of stuff at that young of an age.
Yeah.
Wrong thing to say to me. Although I didn't go to the movie, there was a lot of tabloids out and stuff on it because it was a watershed. That was the first time that subject had been truly broached.
Yes.
And so there was a lot of stuff out. I went to the library and got books out on exorcism, and I found out everything I could on it. So, but it really did. It started. I mean, people thought that they were possessed. I remember my brother-in-law saying that after the movie, some people were going to their priest thinking that they were possessed. Or,
oh my gosh, really, Father?
Oh yeah.
My
It's like
Oh, those poor people. Though I am not laughing at them at all. It just I
remember kids in my neighborhood
gotta be
had
scary.
saw with their parents. I was like, I don't know what was wrong with parents then, and they're even worse now. The kids would see this and have these horrendous nightmares, sleeping with their rosaries and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That was a good thing.
Absolutely.
That was a good thing. They
come up
actually
before.
picked
It's
up
like,
a rosary.
can someone become possessed from watching a movie? Well, what about a movie like this? Because if they think they're possessed, is it possible that if they're vulnerable and are already on deck to be possessed, maybe if they get weakened in their spiritual fear, that kind of thing?
I don't know. I don't know if directly you could be possessed by a movie, but it could it incite something in you that makes you vulnerable to whatever reality is out there. You know, I guess it's possible. Given your state of mind or your faith or lack of. But generally these movies are just fun stuff to watch. More entertaining, not fun, but entertaining.
Well, do you remember back in the 70s and the 80s when spiritism from the early 1900s had brought it full blast? It just was like it was in everybody's homes. Everybody had an Ouija board.
Yeah.
They had the talking oracles. Remember the little what are those little magic 8 balls? Ask the 8 ball a question. So I think The Exorcist kind of brought it full circle and said, "Hey kids, might not be so good to practice transcendental meditation, kids." I think it gave people a different viewpoint.
Yeah, I think, again, I was too young to really know anything about all of that stuff. we brought up in a Catholic home, so we didn't really delve into that. But there was a lot of.
We couldn't either. I would have never been allowed to see it. I had to wait till I was like over 21 to see that movie.
Yeah, we did have a Ouija board though. We did. I don't know if it was mine and my cousin's, but back then it was very innocent. We were asking stupid questions and all that. And the spirit world wasn't as active back then. It was still an innocent age, more or less.
I have to agree with you.
Now they know what they're dealing with.
And there's just so much spiritual activity out there, demonic activity, spiritual doors and portals have been opened that is dangerous because you don't know what you could pull in using a Ouija board. It's a different age, and people today are more serious about using it. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just scared.
Yeah, we just thought it was ghosts. Somebody who died on your property might have, if they're there, they'll answer you. And it's like,
and that could happen. But right now, it's just a much more dangerous world to open yourself up to that stuff.
Collecting masks.
One of the things, I don't know if this is going to be heard or
He's
not.
always been preoccupied with them.
What's that?
And it's not healthy.
Let's not make those judgments now.
Video clip here.
Mark.
A video clip of which
You're
movie
sure
is
it
this
wasn't
that
a
people are
dream?
listening to?
Let's see if I have to set something here. Then.
What movie is this one, honey?
It was Danny Glick.
Salem's Lot.
Oh, Salem's Lot.
Oh,
His subconscious fear made Danny seem real to it.
It's that famous scene.
They were very close friends.
Light flickers, phone rings, then all of a sudden here comes Barlow the Vampire and James Mason, whatever his character was.
Oh my goodness.
Good scene for
the bad boys in the house.
This is when the big guy comes.
That was a little over the top.
Stick around, baby. This movie showed too that a shadowy being too, and that was another interesting perspective that we didn't see very often. Creeping shadows, lurking shadows, shadows that merge with other shadows, like in the movie Ghost.
Yes.
But it's part of the test of faith, and when it gets to that part, I'll turn it up, and it's it basically knocks out the two parents. It's still running in the background as we're speaking. But Father Bob, you can. I'll turn that up real quick when we get to that. There's a moment in there, as you recall, and you mentioned it one time in our private conversations.
Yeah.
I think it's right.
Yeah, what I thought there was a great truth was when the priest was being challenged by the emissary of Mr. Barlow there, and he let the other family escape, the kid escape.
Yeah.
And he held a cross. He said, "Take down the cross, your faith against his." And he wouldn't. He said, "But I'm a priest." And he laughed, and Mr. Barlow, the preacher, grabbed the crucifix and squished it. And it was a very powerful teaching for me, and hopefully to others, that faith is what repels evil, not a physical thing. If you don't have the faith behind that crucifix, then it's a piece of jewelry,
it's worthless.
Whatever.
It's worthless.
It was the faith that the priest did not have that couldn't conquer that evil spirit, that evil creature. And I just thought that was such a great thing.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it represented like that in any movie before, Father. I think you've got a really good point there, because in most movies, even in today's movies, it's not accurately represented as that, yes, your faith is what moves that medallion, that crucifix, that cross. That's your faith. It's not, like you said, just a piece of metal.
Even in the vampire movies, you put two candlesticks together like a cross, it would be repelled because of the... And and maybe they did have faith in that cross, but this, or the makeshift cross, but this one just brought it out. that and I'm sure they weren't intending on making that point when it came out.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah, that's such a weak thing. You know, like in the old days, it was two fireplace pokers making the tea, and then that was good enough for the vampire to go.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't do anything. I think some people take this this work that we do into that too, the fiction. That's one of the reasons why we're doing the show. When it portrays something that's too real to pass up in conversation. Like, you remember that scene that was just like it really is. That doesn't happen very often, does it? You know, like a Constantine, you stare in the cat's eyes, you banish demons into a full-length mirror. You know, that movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, and
the one thing is, what we do is not superstition. What we do is based on faith.
True.
And that's what people have to understand. It's your faith. It's the people's faith that's necessary to conquer evil.
Yes.
We can just do what we do, but they have to carry on with faith in order to keep away, whatever influence of evil that they were under, or that surrounded them. And a lot of people don't get that. They want us as magicians to go,
a magic bullet.
It's away, and it's going to stay away.
So
no,
true.
it don't work like that.
Yeah. When I was young, I remember seeing the Omen as, I think we're around the same age.
Is that what we're talking about next, the Omen?
Yes.
And that was probably pretty, I don't know, was that around the time of The Exorcist?
I think that's probably what inspired the making
later.
of it. What do you think?
I think it came later because
Like
I
74?
saw the Omen.
Maybe what, the 80s? Early 80s? Late 70s?
I don't even know if it might have been, but it was a later time because I remember going to see it in the movies.
Yeah.
And I was very struck by it. I was
Mhm.
very struck by the movie. Not so much for the details as much as for the overall, the concept of fighting, the Antichrist, good versus evil.
In flesh, which, it is predicted he will be here in flesh.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is definitely, that really brings it. Mm-hmm.
Which is
I mean, the details of, being born of a jackal and all of that, well, that's really here and there. That's just, and that wasn't the fun part. The fun part is that it was the final battle between good and evil being prepared, and I thought it was good. It was good. And in some ways, I shouldn't say entertaining. I don't mean fun entertaining, but it was just it was a good movie, And the thing is, I as a young person, believe it or not, and people would laugh at me, but it moved me. It did something to me because I felt after that movie, seeing that movie, that I would have a hand in the fight between good and evil. And it really solidified what I wanted to do with my life.
Wow.
And the reality, because again, my mother's cousin was a priest, and he really taught me solid things, including spiritual warfare, the reality that I was going to have a hand in that. So,
what a blessing.
Yeah, the strangest things, too.
When I saw that movie, Father, there are certain points in the movie that you realize that the movie, in a big way, does reflect real life, such as you walk through the movie and you see that this governess was sent to watch over this boy. And just to pick it apart real quick, anytime that evil is growing, just like a nice patch of fertile garden, it seems like there's plenty of pests and everything else to help it stay nasty and disgusting. And it almost feeds upon itself, meaning that, when one evil person was knocked out of this boy's way, another one came and took its place. So, the whole movie tried to set it up as some kind of, which is familiar, which, doesn't really apply to evil at all. It basically is the legions of Satan and his minions. There's plenty of them. We don't need to, we don't need to invite or, think that they don't exist. And this movie set it up that the boy was surrounded constantly by somebody evil watching over him. And that, in my mind, it explained a lot of stuff in my young life. It explained a lot of circumstances, and I thought, because you don't have to know the Antichrist to know that evil exists in the world, and that evil watches over itself and spreads like cockroaches, as we say. They just breed and breed and breed and breed unless you get them out, and continue to keep them out. So that movie, and then too,
every reality in the spiritual world, in the godly world, there is the opposite. You know, and that came out in that movie, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Satan, the Antichrist, the false prophet, for everything good, and that's reality. And just like God uses agents, He uses us as instruments to further the kingdom, you know, conversely, on the other side, there are those who give themselves to evil, over to evil, who are furthering the kingdom of evil, whether they know it directly or indirectly that it's the devil himself, or they're just moved by evil, furthering that kingdom. So,
I agree.
It's reality.
I agree. That movie, and like you said, the best part of it was him against evil. It was definitely a fight to the death.
Right. And the interesting thing too that I saw was that kind of freaked me out was when they said where remember they were looking for where the body of the mother was.
Yes.
The cemetery.
Oh yeah.
Trying to find out what the challenge. That was when they said the name of the province. That was where my grandparents came from.
Oh my gosh.
Frosinone, yeah, when they said that, and it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, is that creepy or what?
Myself in the movie, and then it was the cemetery was in the Etruscan cemetery, and my people from where they came from were Etruscan people.
Wow, that's
so
weird.
It really was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they had really great music in there too. That really drew you in.
Yes,
you know that
did.
spooky chorus, "Ree roy roy, ree roy ree." Whatever it was, I remember that. The whole thing was very creepy out of the gate because The Exorcist had just its beginning, "Tubular Bells," I think the name of the song was.
Oh, I love that move. That tune.
You notice how quiet it was, though. It was like looking into someone's life, but The Exorcist had all that dramatic music, but it did add to it. And
Yes, it did.
That was groundbreaking. One of the movies that I'd like to mention is see what you think about that was the Legend of Hell House. Had some some parapsychology beliefs and stuff like that.
Now, we're talking about the original one, the black and white, or because I think there's like 3 Legends of Hell House.
I think one of them is a different movie entirely.
It was so long ago that I saw it. I don't remember all the details of it, but I saw the original. Yeah, the original, the black and white.
Yeah. That one, you're thinking of The Haunting. Not The Legend of Hell House. I think that one didn't have a remake. That's probably going to be on deck. Just wait. But that one had more what we would consider demonic activity. Of course, when you can connect the dots like you do with a closing, that says it's not realistic. You don't find bodies in basements and stuff like that. That's still very rare. Yes. I think it definitely deserves an honorable mention just because it revealed poltergeist.
That was 1973 right there.
That was 1973
That's
too.
what it
See,
said.
another one right
1973.
There. Wow.
Legend of Hell House came out. Wow.
Now it's got some brief nudity in there, so if you're going to watch it, you might want to.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, we should have brought that up.
Try to find the television version of it or something.
Precisely. The prime time version.
Remember when they used to do that for us?
Yeah, they used to cut out all the cussing and everything, and you could watch it on TV at home.
Even
those are the good old days.
Back to the Future, they put the TV version on, and then they changed Alex. What's his name? Michael J. Fox. They changed one of his words to "Geez Louise," and it sounded like he was in a bathroom. But suddenly that voice would cut in. It was a really bad overdub. But they still did it back now. They don't care anymore. I don't know. They still run stuff on ABC, CBS, like, and they cut it down because they still have the rules from the FCC because it's in the airwaves.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do know. I remember when the Exorcist came on to one of the TV things. They did change because what's your name did an awful lot of cursing.
Yes.
Especially the Lord James, and they did change. I remember them dubbing it for something else. I forgot what she was saying,
yes.
but yeah, I do remember that. But that's a few years back.
Yeah. So what about the final conflict? Was that just because it was the finale that you...
Is that in the Omen series, Kenny?
Yeah.
For our listeners?
Was it the final one even? You know how that could be.
Yeah, that was great too. I loved I could go about the middle one. The middle one really had nothing to do with the first and the last. You could definitely watch the one, the original one, and the final conflict without having the middle one. But final conflict was awesome at the end. The second one, yeah.
So what is that actor? I know that actor from somewhere. Oh, Sam Neill, the Jurassic Park guy. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember when he was giving a speech, and it was really creepy, of course, because it's like he realizes he's the Antichrist when he was younger or something, and he's making a speech. It's
he gave it to everybody in the, they were in that, like, knoll or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And
military
they said,
thing.
We will.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it, Farah? When's the last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Margaret Bennett made...
That was supposed to go and kill the child, and it showed them doing that, yeah.
Margaret Bennett, Farah?
Oh, I was just saying, she said that 1978 was just really, there's a glut of horror movies, and it was like almost pivotal because then they came out with all the fluffy vampire movies. Do you remember, Father, how Dracula and horror movies, the horror was really horror, and then all of a sudden we had these, cute little vampire boys running around in capes, to now they got sparkles on them.
Yeah, that's all about that.
It's like,
I refuse to watch that nonsense.
Me neither. It's just like
That's not how
it's stupid. It's just stupid.
Romantic. It's like
Get more romantics.
Romance,
Well, and that's just it. Somebody was pointing out in the chat room earlier that Constantine in the movie, that these horrific demons are very, very ugly, and they're horrific. And when you romanticize them and make them appear to have feelings, which they do not have feelings like we do, and sensitivities, because we must feel sorry for the poor things that fell away from God. Basically, it twists and turns and sets a level of propaganda in your brain that has nothing to do with reality in the spiritual world.
Then they can go out in the sun and they have dust or whatever, and then the crucifix doesn't do anything, daylight doesn't do anything, garlic doesn't do it. Just ruins the whole vampire lore.
The only one that I liked that they changed was Blade. And they made it like garlic, that, they didn't like garlic. What was the reason? Did they show crucifixes in there? Blade with Wesley Snipes.
Blade was pretty interesting. Wasn't that a comic book first?
I like that. That's one. My favorite.
And he was,
superheroes,
he was he was a vampire killer, but he was a vampire. Kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll probably see one of those coming up, and whoever made that in the movies at the theaters, though. But I got up here Christopher Lee and Dracula, the series. I barely remember those.
Wasn't that kind of like Barnabas Collins?
Yeah.
But there's
Christopher Lee was the scariest. When I was a kid, go see, all right. Jack Palance, no. Whoever else, but Christopher Lee's face scared the daylights out of me.
Mm-hmm.
He
red eyes,
scary Dracula.
Yeah, even Bela Lugosi didn't have the red eyes.
Yeah, and just that scary face.
Did they avoid the blood running down the cheek or the chin on the old Bela Lugosi versions of Dracula?
Probably. I think it was sanitized, like Nosferatu. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, but I mean, Christopher Lee definitely no. There was blood there. There was blood there. And there was like a few of them. There was several of them. Of that series with him. Because then he dies, then he comes back up from the dead because he was in the water that was frozen, and the priest goes up there and goes to do an exorcism or something, and he falls and the blood goes. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Interesting. Still inspiring for the work. A lot of vampire lore has inspired some of the things that people experience, but they called it vampires instead of what would be otherwise succubus, night terrors, and I wonder if they got confused. Go ahead, Farah.
I was just going to ask, Father, have you ever heard of that series called Forever Night? It's a Canadian series, and he was infected by a very old vampire, a vampire who owned a radio station, and basically they ravaged, Toronto, Windsor. It was Canadian, really well done. And he would he was a policeman during day and hunting vampires at night, and he worked kind of like, he was like this Quincy type guy that was kind of logical. Yeah, it was a really, really interesting series, and he was desperately trying not to become a vampire but hunt them down. It was really different.
What was it called again?
Forever Night.
Oh, Forever Night.
Forever Night. Knight. Forever Night.
So it was the 80s, right?
It was. I think it was the beginning of the 80s. It was when they started having to glamorize vampires and stuff like that, and Canada did a really good job with the series.
And again, what some people that are from New England may not realize, although we may have spoken about it on here before, but that Bram Stoker was inspired with his Dracula character from the legend of vampires from New England, particularly from Rhode Island. Mercy Brown, whose grave I visited in Exeter, Rhode Island. There was legends of vampirism in New England, and particularly in Rhode Island. There's two of them.
Oh my goodness!
And that was one of the inspirations for Bram Stoker.
That's interesting. Well, I think that if people really had any clue about these blood cults that actually do drink each other's blood, it's just...
Well, actually, no, it wasn't. Vampirism for them was different blood. It was blood diseases that had happened, and so they believed that these people would come in there, but not biting your neck and all that. No, it was different. It was a different vampirism, but still, I mean, it was inspired by that. They had to take the heart of the vampire and burn it into ashes, and then they had to make a drink out of that, and the victim had to drink it.
How
in
gross!
Order to be free. That's what they thought. Well, they probably died from whatever disease that caused, but
no kidding. That probably would have given you a blood-borne pathogen disease of sorts.
Yeah.
The next one on the block is the Sentinel. I barely remember this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the Sentinel. We all had some creepy person sitting in their window when we were kids watching us. Everybody had some creepy person that you were like, they're going to eat you. They eat children, or they burn bodies.
It's that creepy lady. And if you come from an Italian neighborhood like I do, there was always...
Oh my gosh, there's all creepy ladies.
No, not again.
Oh my gosh.
When you came home at night.
Oh yes, everybody in the world. Well, see, we lived on the base. It was kind of like having Italian grandmas, Spanish grandmas, Polish grandmas, and everybody. Your parents heard the gossip before you even got through the gate to head down into the military base.
Yeah.
They knew who you were with, what you were wearing. So if you were changing your clothes in that car before you got home, your mother already knew where were the clothes that you exactly. It was horrible. Couldn't get by anything. But yeah, that Sentinel movie, that was pretty different because it gave people the idea that there was something here on Earth. I think, Father Bob, what disturbed me about this movie, it gave people the idea that there was actually these portals of hell that humans... It did. And
that's groundbreaking.
Very groundbreaking in that sense. And in another sense, giving them a specific place, it's almost too frightening sometimes for people with tender hearts and tender minds. They don't need to know this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it sort of that there was somebody that was the guardian of that portal between good and evil.
Yes.
You know, where the spirit world, the demonic world, and our world. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
What year was this one?
What does it say? MC what?
Another 17.
I can't read the MCs. How many
there one
X's
on
are
there?
behind it? And and V's?
I don't know. I don't know if it's saying that. What was that, like 75?
Sentinel.
Oh yeah, the late 70s, I think.
Yeah. Here's I must have been into a lot of stuff. I remember I was kind of like doing something else when it was on, and then when the end got here, where all of these deformed figures, it reminded me of Scrooge, the movie, when they were the musical, the one that was made in England, when he took Ebenezer flying above, showed all the spirits of the air, and there are all these monstrous-looking things floating and flying around. But these things were crawling out, and they looked deformed. They looked like, they had one leg, or they're crawling on the ground, hopping.
Yeah.
That was pretty, groundbreaking, you can say, and rather hellish. I was surprised to see that.
Yeah.
I was kind of bored with the rest. That's the problem. I didn't have the attention span back then to watch it. I'll have to watch it in detail or something just to walk down memory lane, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean,
I was probably watching Speed Racer more back
my
then.
gosh.
reality for it, but the overall thing about between the two worlds and and portals, that was about the one thing you could glean from it. But that was kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
The whole concept of the portal of hell and someone being chosen to stand there and or stand guard over that.
The portal topic is kind of like a show in itself too, because we hear that a lot from people who are on these hunting teams and so forth, and it's not like you got to do. There was this one guy in 2008, and he was acting like some sort of like apocalyptic event was going to happen at the Waverly Hills unless he could close. He was nuts. Unless he could close the portal, like it's movie essence. It's like, okay, you have to open a portal. It's not like one's open by default, like a conjuring or a satanic ritual or something that conjures something up or calls upon a spirit of this or that. And then it's just like breaking a spell or anything like that. When the house is exorcised, it should close all supposed portals. In video games they call them spawn points. That's where you just see it show up and it, kind of like pops in like Samantha from the L.P. Wood series. Something more dramatic than that, more like Star Trek, beaming in.
That's
somebody.
why I got so upset too when that whole thing where they would go into the house where the Exorcist was made.
Exactly. What are they trying to do?
And they were going to do another exorcism on there, and it's like, this is all show. This is nonsense.
Yeah.
That house, part of the exorcism over the person is the exorcism over the house.
Yes.
The house is free. There was nothing going on there.
Yeah.
Why are you stirring things up? For what? It was. I went wild with that.
Yeah, everybody did in the Catholic Church, apparently. Even our other priest
Way
friends.
too much sensationalism.
Our then Archbishop, well, I guess he was an Archbishop then, but he's not retired 100% yet, the Archbishop in St. Louis. And his exorcism, he's still an exorcist up there. So that's the only other exorcist that we got besides the two that we work with on this half of Missouri. But yeah, that was a good one. If we have these other ones around the same time, and this wasn't this was a made for TV. No, it's a Universal. It must have been at the theater, right? So yeah, I ended up seeing it. The Sentinel was on TV when I saw it, so it must have been much later.
Yeah, but it's also in the movies, I believe.
Yeah, it says Universal Picture. If Universal made it,
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't CBS. They had Rosemary's Baby and some of these other, like The Devil's Reign, Running with the Devil, which I think it had a young Loretta Swit in that one. And John Travolta was in The Devil's
Even The
Reign.
Grip of Evil was made for TV. That wasn't out the movie.
Yeah. Groundbreaking stuff in the 70s, all probably inspired by the one thing after the other.
Yeah.
And on the deck was the Annabelle case. That's a little later. We'll bring up. We'll kind of go a little bit in the early ones that we have up here, so we can kind of do them in order. I know it's not as easy to do, but let's go to the Sixth Sense. The Haunting. Okay, the Haunting is the oldest one we got right now on the screen here.
And who was in that?
The Haunting of Hill House. That's the one that we saw the other day with the. It was remade.
Julie Harris, Claire Bloom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the older one.
That's pretty good for a black and white one. But again, it's not ghost again. It's what we know as demonic activity. I mean,
it pretty much reflected the entire society, you guys, because everybody was like, oh, yeah, psychic phenomenon. They wanted proof. They wanted to just break down the barriers and show the world that supernatural existed. Yeah.
You mean like Legend of Hell House? The funny thing about Legend of Hell House, too, I hate to go back to that one, but you remember there's this giant thing in there? It looked like, I don't know what. It's way bigger than a washing machine. And it's like someone said that's the world's first EVP meter or something like that. And it's huge, and it ends up blowing up or something. The glass breaks on the meter. But that was funny because that's when they really thought they might get rid of psychic energy, so to speak. Yes. By inducing electromagnetic fields that we end up reading on these meters. And that it's like, in other words, like when you cancel out noise in your car, you invert the signal of the noise so that it cancels it out. I mean, they were still thinking, spirits was science. I notice it's like no one does anymore almost. They go too much into spiritualism in the wrong part, I think.
Well, I think the funny thing is that people kind of forget Franciscans invented science. What a lot of the things that we countermeasure, and science is real, but there is no measuring real supernatural activity. Mm-hmm. You have to have spiritual eyes and faith to understand it, and you just can't put it in a box and call it butter.
Nope. Or margarine.
Or margarine, exactly. It's definitely not margarine.
Mm-hmm. I love an old house story and all that kind of thing too, and always did. But this one does cater to that. But it is ironic that when we were all younger, we just thought of them as ghosts, and we didn't know that demonics were really. We just thought they're all chained in hell, when you're kids and stuff. So you always thought it was a ghost because you heard ghost stories. You saw Canterville Ghost, the kind of a silly kids Walt Disney movie, right? The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Yeah. With Don Knotts, the Ghost and Mrs. Muir, Farah. That's one that you remember watching when you were very young. And
no, my mother would not let me watch that. I had to wait till I was over 20 to watch that. My mother would never let those movies be shown in the house. No.
Yeah, you didn't have your own TV in your room then. You couldn't.
Nope.
The Ghost and Mrs. Muir?
Yeah, I didn't watch that until I was older. I love that movie. That's such a beautiful. I think I like it because it's the atmosphere. I love the ocean, and I love the music, and I love the fact that this young woman she was just lonely, and she was needy. It's just that whole romantic setup they have,
Rex. It was a series. It was a TV series.
So. Yes, and I saw that. I found that on YouTube. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you check it out?
If you're on Hulu, which I just subscribe to it because I think I might as well because all the old series, and I would, I might as well because I don't have a VCR. I mean a DVR.
Oh,
and The Ghost and Mrs. Muir is one of the series that's on Hulu.
Wow. Yes, we found it. I think didn't we find it on YouTube, honey?
That's a series. Oh, it might be.
Yes, it was. I just found it, and I says, "Oh my gosh, Father Bob was talking about this."
It had to be on YouTube.
So yes,
Charles Nelson Riley was in there. Oh yeah.
Oh no, really? That's like Paul Lynde on Bewitched or something,
He was the bumbling guy that was there. Yeah, and then. I forget she's famous. I don't know her name, but she was like the housekeeper or something, the maid or whatever. She was there. Yeah, it was a great series. But I remember seeing the first movie in the drive-in.
Oh, that's good and scary with the crickets and the bugs and the dark and that big screen.
Exactly. Yeah. We went to see that.
Oh my gosh.
Blood and swash.
Total blood and swash. Yeah, Tony was bringing up a movie. I don't remember. Do you guys remember that movie, Witchboard?
Oh, yeah.
Came out. I think that was an 80s movie. That was a weird movie.
Oh, yeah. I remember the videotape.
Yeah. But isn't that the one that really kind of showed the dangers of spiritual?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And it was different.
I was impressed with it because it did show. It taught a lesson,
I guess the last thing you can say about a haunting is black and white, no horrendous, what do you call it, special effects, Bill? Like the one that came later on that had Owen Wilson or Luke Wilson. I always get those two confused. And Liam Neeson. But it is funny that we look back and we're thinking, oh yeah, there was ghost stories. No, it's not the nature of a ghost. They can't do that kind of stuff, or they can't do without a demonic spirit as a condemned spirit. So either way, it's evil. It's not like grandma mad because you sat in her favorite chair after she passed away and she thought she'd just sort of terrorize you all night over it. It definitely, I think
grandma has way better things to do.
Yeah. Let's see what is next. I'll put this one in here because I just wanted to mention it because I thought it was groundbreaking in itself. And you know what? This is an endless list. Not this tonight. I'm talking about what someone can compile. And that is Poltergeist. I remember I was watching The Terminator in a theater, and this preview came up, and I said, this is going to be good. Now, they got a little carried away, and I actually had an audio clip of a video clip, of the Poltergeist short woman, we'll just say. And she said, this house is clear. And she didn't say it the way we hear everybody imitate it. Like when Captain Kirk gets imitated, everybody does their version of a Captain Kirk. They don't actually do Captain Kirk. When you listen to Captain Kirk again, you're like, wow, he was a good actor. I don't remember him being so sappy as all these people do in comedy routines. But this one was a big one, and it also brought forth white noise, of course, on TV, the snow. And it was a little bit of an over the top thing with the tree eating and
it was because it made people afraid of leaving their TV on, leaving the white noise on. It's like after you remember after the Pledge of Allegiance, the white noise came on. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, they'd play the Star Spangled Banner and they'd fly the flag and say it's time to go to good night. Good night.
So, the part with the poltergeist.
That shows how old I am.
They said that. That's how. What was this?
Yeah.
Was it like 85, 86, maybe? I don't know. But when the poltergeists are flying around in the room, and then those paranormal investigators first saw it, the one woman was shaking. It's like I shouldn't laugh at anybody like that, but
I know.
Yeah, they try. Right? They try. But I think that and this notion that this woman came in there who was supposed to be a sensitive. You can't trust sensitive's impression of a place. You have to use your knowledge. This is not the way it works. And then say, I don't care what she says, she was wrong. And that's why it was groundbreaking, in my opinion, is that she was wrong. They were not only not gone, they had one big last boogeyman show to do, and the whole house disappeared. Yeah. So it's just it's a little warning right there that don't trust in some person who impresses that, oh yeah, they're all gone, it's safe now, I feel the warm fuzzy feelings. Demons can lie about that stuff.
Yes,
they can project warm fuzzy.
I fully believe that you have people with psychic abilities, and and there is something with psychic abilities, authentic psychic abilities. But when you're dealing in the realm of the demonic as opposed to human spirits, I'm sorry, they can lie. They have intelligence. So you have someone who thinks their psychic abilities goes into a place. A demon can lie. They're not infallible. So I mean, these psychics. So a demon can lie. They have superior knowledge and superior power. So you got to be careful with that. It's a whole different ballgame when you're dealing with the demonic.
I think that's
and psychic abilities.
Oh, exactly. And the sad thing is, I really think, Father, more than any other time that I've known, for everyone just to come out of the closet and say, I see visions and I'm prophesying and I've got psychic ability. I just don't remember any other time in my lifetime or before, that I know from my family that it was just such an open, acceptable thing that it's worrisome because people don't understand the demonic, and they don't understand how easy it is to just pretend to be somebody they love, the grandma, a little child. Somebody so harmless and sweet.
They're deceitful.
Yeah.
Yes.
The father of lies. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm saying, if you have this true ability, it's a burden also. And I think people have authentic ones. I don't know. I just think that they more wanted to keep that within themselves because it's not always glamorous having the gift of true sex abilities, because whether you're an empath or whatever, it can be a real burden in your life. And I've seen that with people who have that ability and they don't know how to control it. It's scary.
Now we're going to try to do a show about that once, and it's going to take some time to put it together so we keep it flowing and get the facts in there. But that's a good topic, and The Sixth Sense is another movie that we have in here and on deck, and that kind of brings up the same topic to a sense, because it's not a person proclaiming to be, but they unwillingly, in the whole 9 yards, it's there, whether they want it or not. Let's hear your opinions on The Sixth Sense, and that was definitely.
Mine?
Yes.
I love the movie. I love the movie. In fact, it was one of those movies that was so ingenious because most of us saw it twice, because we didn't realize till the end that Bruce Willis was dead. So then we went to see the second time to find all the clues.
Exactly, to go and remember what did we miss.
That was clever too.
It was a total fool. It's like you're like, wow, that's why. Because when you watch the movie, see, I picked apart that movie the first time I saw it, and a lot of things bothered me. It's like, why this? And then at the end, when they did the reveal, I'm like, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why. Why didn't I catch that? That was that very, very well done.
Yeah.
Very well thought out.
The other one, too, I have to say, that was very much like that. It was genius. To me, that was genius. The guy had double billing, People went to see it play. With The Others.
Oh yes, that that movie. Yes,
same thing. I went to see the second time.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of Ken's favorite movies, The Others. That's definitely. It was just so horrific because she had doomed herself to her own hell through her crime, and other people saw her as an angry poltergeist. That's what they saw him as, angry poltergeists. And that's one interesting way for people to try and understand that, that human spirits can be used by demons to bother the living. Especially if they choose evil. One
of the curious things about The Sixth Sense is that if you think about it, use your logical mind on it, that, there was this girl who was poisoned, and you wonder, why would this be burdened on a young boy who, what was he, 10 years old? He's a little over the age of reason. He's not, I don't know if he was 12 or not. And there's this spirit, just like he's the only one who can help. I know these have unusual circumstances in haunted stories and all this other stuff where the spirit actually tells you something, to try to find a killer. That's extremely rare, even for the people who claim to be sensitives. But I did find out that a lot of them are being duped by demonic spirits because they want to help people so bad, and then they'll appear in a bloody t-shirt saying, "Help me!" It's like, well, here's all you can do. If it doesn't say, help me find my killer or something specific right away, don't ask. See, they draw you into that with the Ouija board and all that,
Totally.
Unhealthy curiosity. You can go and say these prayers, to release them from purgatory. If they're in some purgatory, did God put it on every spirit to find your killer, to find money that he hid in a safety deposit box somewhere, which is even more rare, to find something to undo?
Why would a spirit after this plus even care about that? I'm sorry, but that's the last thing. If you're on your way, or if you're in the presence of God in the hereafter. Who cares about what happened in the temple world?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, unless it's like their person's going to be murdered, like in Ghost of Patrick Swayze, it's like, but would that be
Well,
my
yeah,
thing?
but I'm
or
talking about like hidden money somewhere. Like
Yeah.
something last
Yeah.
departed soul would care about.
That one's happened, supposedly, but not no case that I worked on. But
All right, we've got time for one more movie, guys, and then we got to call it a night. What movie's next, Ken?
All right, let's see here. Did you see Stir of Echoes?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, we got to talk about when it's Stir of Echoes, The Grudge.
How about The Rite, Father?
Okay, The Rite.
Oh yeah. For a modern movie, that's right up there. Like In the Grip of Evil, it compiles the stories from that Daglio of actual found exorcists, and I think it was very good. It showed demonic possession reality, because there is phenomenon, but it wasn't the pea soup, the Hollywood,
the over the top, exactly, head spinning
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah, this is more realistic.
Yeah, and I thought it was great how they followed the seminarian or deacon through that, through his doubts and all of that. It was very, very good. It was
Very realistic,
believable.
wasn't it, Father? Very realistic, especially how he was, mildly oppressed with visions and memories, and his mother committing suicide. Those are the kind of things that really throw people off their entire lives, and basically assist them into self-destructive patterns.
Yes.
And that's the way, Satan takes advantage of our memories. He's got complete access to everything we know and can use it against us at any time. That's what people don't understand. And this movie, wow, it brought the entire play alive. So how this man, it was excellent the way they set it up. And the demonic attacking
and
him
the
constantly.
Thing is, what it did was it drew all the best of the cases. The book is worth reading because it just has more detail of account.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you bought it, Farah.
You
some
really
years
need
ago.
to read the book. Yeah.
That thing with a donkey, that on a realistic level, unless there was rituals with a donkey at the site they were living in, something like that just wouldn't happen out of the blue. Now, sometimes a demon manifests itself in your dreams or whatever as a dark animal, a black animal, but there's some discrepancies that you can bring up, like that. But all of the things with the possession, it wasn't head spinning around on stuff over the top. That was more like the way it
even
is.
spitting up nails and all of that has happened in real accounts.
Yeah.
Well, and that too. Do you remember when Anthony Hopkins, went out with nothing on but a coat, and was just standing out there, and he smacked that little girl, and he had no memory of it. But the way demons actually operate, the demons had left him alone enough to where he knew something was really, really, really wrong. So when that seminarian, the deacon, had come in, he's like, start it. He knew. He just knew that that man was cut out to be right there to help him out. That was pretty horrific.
The infestation of the what kind of frogs were they? They look almost like a little mini
I don't know,
lizard or something. But that kind of stuff happens, but not with that kind of animal. But the roaches and rats, stuff like that. That for some reason, when there's demonic infestations, they draw them. Flies. Yes, even though people think, oh, the enemy with the hoax. No, it does happen. Flies will just accumulate. These things that are considered pests in this world, and
it can be gnats, it can be mayflies, it can be ants,
crows,
it can be just about anything.
It's symbolic to some degree. I don't know, but something got to get your attention if nothing else, right?
Oh, exactly.
This is a funny case too, because did you know that Father Vince Lampert and Father Thomas were there at the same time? Not at that site, but they had the same mentor, and they were in the
they're in the institute.
At
Yeah.
the same time,
Yeah.
yes. Isn't that funny?
He says he did that. He
Wow.
answered the phone. The phone would ring, and then he would, answer it right in the middle of an exorcism.
Oh my God.
Isn't it? See what I mean? So people say, "Oh, it wasn't all true." Well, yeah, some of the things were dressed up in there. He's, the father with the Undertaker and all that kind of stuff. They
But
put
the
those.
priest that he mentored from was, I forgot who that was in real life. I didn't recognize the name. But
Oh, my gosh,
I thought in the beginning it was Father Amorth, but it wasn't.
Yeah, he.
Isn't that interesting?
On our, if you go to the YouTube page, youtube.com, The Real Deals, you'll find interviews with Gary Thomas on there for the listening audience out here. He actually says the name, I think it's Cardoza or something like that, Father Cardoza.
Yeah,
Yes.
it wasn't a name that I recognized, but that's doesn't mean anything. Most of them in those days were not readily known.
Oh, I think it was Father Carmen. Yeah. It's Father Carmen. I don't know. Is that Italian? It's supposed to be in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carmine, yeah. Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yeah, Matt Baglio, is that how you pronounce it, Farah?
Matt
Baglio, yes.
right.
He was supposed to be researching for another book related to some spiritual warfare or something, and I don't know what happened to that. It's not easy to write about this stuff, let me tell you. I had a lot of setbacks in the early, the late 90s. Uh-huh. Yeah. We still have some left. Before we go, I wanted to mention one real quick that should get a mention without going into detail about the story. The Abattoir, surprisingly, was a good movie for the most part. The thing I'm telling you, that it was that this guy collected these rooms. So you would tear down the wall and everything and rebuild it at this house to build a house.
What are you talking about?
The Abattoir.
What was that about?
Abattoir. And finally, I'm just leaving a little teaser there. That at the very ending, when they go into this place, it is about as hellish and demonic as you'll ever see or experience. It reminds me of stuff that I've seen, and I have not seen anything like that before that, apart from Shadows and all these other kind of things. It was just like it was like, if you had one of these pay haunted houses where they put monsters in there. What if they put each scene was actually a real scene from a demonic case? But the ending, and it was by the director of Saw 2, 3, and 4, of all people. I think the guy knows something besides, how to torture people.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. If you remember that one, it was like a Farah. That was the one where someone died in this one place, some horrendous death, and somebody bought it and only took out that one room where the death happened. One of this house ends up collecting these rooms, and it's like the scenes being played back in time over and over again.
Kind of crazy.
The death, yeah.
Sounds like the demonic messing with somebody's memory.
Yeah, it's very demonic, nightmarish kind of stuff on that. But just because it does portray some of the more horrific things that a person could experience, even in dreams, and they'll put those kind of dreams in there when you're being
And we
oppressed.
are at the top of the hour, so I have to remind everybody: please like and share, subscribe. We're on YouTube. Come back again next Thursday, and of course we're going to pester Father Bob again in another 2 or 3 months and find out some other fun topics Father Bob might like to talk about, like maybe maybe Frappuccino or peach cobbler or something fun like that. We might have a food throwdown. What's the scariest food you've ever put in your mouth? Who knows? But don't ever forget, folks. You know what?
Think about that one.
The battle has already been won. Never forget that. And we're all here to help you fight the fight and win it right. Thank you. Thank God for Father Bob. Thank you for all you do, Father, in your ministry, to all those people that you help. And everybody, don't forget, we are the real deals. Thank you, Father Bob. God bless your night.
Oh, you're welcome. God bless you.
It was fun. Thank you very much, and hopefully informative.
Yes, it was.
Like and share the video if you can, kiddies. Till next week.
The Real Deals TV show, copyright 2018, a Swords of St. Michael production. Any unauthorized duplication or rebroadcast or retransmission of this broadcast without the express written permission of the Swords of the Saint Network or that of Kenneth and Farah Deel is strictly prohibited.